You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please go ahead and get us started.
Hey, I'm Ivan Zach. Really excited to introduce a colleague of mine, Dr. Georgia Jeremiah. Georgia is a veterinarian, Y Combinator graduate, and CEO of Pharmacy, concierge prescription service for pet parents who want the best care for their loved ones. It was created when the need for medications to be delivered quickly was becoming a daily challenge. The goal is to create a network of small local pharmacies that can meet the same day fulfillment requests for customers in need while sharing revenue with fellow vets. Georgia, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for finding the time at 5 a.m. You're on the West Coast and it's very early. So, as an entrepreneur, is that what you do every day or is that just for us?
Generally speaking, it's a little early. It's usually about 6:30. So, like I said, it's nice to watch the world wake up. Especially watching the sun come up is perfect. So, it's actually a treat.
Well, thank you for getting up so early for us. So, I have a lot of questions. We have not only VetSource, Vet's First Choice, but we also have Chewy. So you're doing something that will compete with them at the first glance, what I'm thinking. And I'm very interested. What is the idea? Where did it come from? And how do you think you're going to go to market to compete with those giants?
Absolutely. So I had all of these things as well when I was practicing, and I would still find myself on a daily basis looking for something that we didn't have in our clinic, and really wishing we could get it faster. With VetSource and Covetrus, I didn't have a problem necessarily with using their services. Their prescription forms were a little cumbersome at times, and the delivery delays were quite bad at that time as well. This was during COVID, and I thought, gosh, there's got to be something better. I would try and call medications in to CVS or Walgreens around the corner, but you're looking at large pharmacy chains that don't carry pet meds, and pharmacists who aren't familiar with animal anatomy, physiology, and sometimes actually don't feel comfortable filling for pets. So what I decided to do was create this very small pharmacy that could meet the needs of our local practitioners in our area, that paid them back in the same way as VetSource and Covetrus, but could deliver those medications to their clients and compounds the very same day. And so far, so good. It's been very successful. Let's say you need a strange antibiotic, or something that is a new product that you haven't yet bought into your store. That's kind of where we come in.
That's so interesting, Georgia. So tell us where you're at on the journey so far. When did you start? Where are you guys at? And what's the next 6 months to a year look like?
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of started about a year ago, I would say. We're testing this out in our current location with roughly 100 different veterinarians. At the moment, we're working on our PMF and just making our customers like deliriously happy is what we want to do. And we're looking to provide this Airbnb sort of 10-star service. We were like, what does a 5-star service look like? What does a 6-star service look like? And we're trying to get as close to that 10-star service as we can while still remaining profitable and helping our vets. And that means making prescribing super easy for them, really quick, and they can speak to a human being at any time. They just pick up the phone, they know us personally. And then on the pet parent side, it's like, decent prices. We get it to them the same day. We take care of all their refills and, take care of all of their pets under one roof. In terms of what the next year looks like for us, once we sort of nail this PMF in our local area, we want to expand that nationally. Basically, it would be like having little pet pharmacies in major urban areas that would offer the same day delivery service to their clients.
That makes sense. You said you have about 100 veterinarians, so it's expanding locally. Which area of the United States are you in right now for anybody who wants to connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, for sure. So we're outside of Sacramento right now, which is it was just where my husband and I kind of grew up. So we decided to start there because we know some of the people. But it's in an area called Folsom, so Northern California.
Excellent. So, can you tell me a little more about the workflow and the tech behind it? Because when I'm thinking about prescription, the main hurdle is to punch in and because I need to enter it into my practice management system. Is there a technology behind it, or is it the phone in prescription, or how do you How do you fulfill, and is there technology that you added to it?
There definitely is quite a lot, actually. With people who want to fax or call us, they're more than welcome to. We recommend that people get a prescribing portal. If they get a prescribing portal, we give them an account, a username, and the doctor's PIN. We've tried to make it really quick for them to prescribe. So all they really need to do is add items to almost like a shopping cart, and then they enter in the item information, and then they, approve it. Once they do that, that comes over to our side. We take care of payments, we take care of communicating with the client and handling refills as well, and then the vet gets paid for that. I would like to pretty much say that most vets will be able to prescribe something in, 30 to 45 seconds if they're quite familiar with using our service. So it's very quick.
That's really interesting. And so the question that I have is, like, oftentimes in business, we borrow models from other countries or places that we've seen things happen more efficiently. Was there any of that involved in your guys' idea creation? And if not, when did this idea go from an idea to, you know what, I'm going to leave this world of veterinary medicine from a clinical practitioner perspective and start a pharmacy? And how did that happen?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, with Covetrus and VetSource, I mean, I use those products a lot as a vet. And one of the things was just, scripting out just took quite a lot of time. So I wanted to kind of improve that process. Fortunately, my husband is a software engineer and, he's very patient. And so we kind of went through everything that was a problem and did our best to kind of fix it. It's not like the most beautiful looking software, but that will come later. What we're trying to do is just make that process really quick. Once we sort of got the pharmacy license, I had to put a pause on my veterinary license for a little while we got the pharmacy up and running. It's a conflict of interest for them. So I think, it was probably about 3 months after we started up that we decided, you know what, we're going to do this full time. I mean, I practice medicine now, but it was probably a year or so before I went back.
So there's quite a few things come to mind when I realized what Chewy is doing to our industry, and a lot of veterinarians were saying, "Oh my God, Chewy's taken over our revenue. We need to fight them back," and all of that stuff. I actually think that this is an improvement to our industry, and the over the counter and the prescription revenue is probably not what we need to focus on as veterinarians. And I'm ready to be slaughtered by all our listeners, but I do think that if someone is doing it faster at a more affordable pricing and more convenient for the pet owners, that's what we should be focusing on, is outsourcing that, and then us focusing on the services. So that's just my statement out there. Now, with this, there's a different spectrum of where you can sort of interfere with what the clinic, or not interfere, but support the clinic in where they're prescribing. So I'm thinking more so on sort of VetSource, Vet's First Choice, and Chewy, more something that is a longer term prescription, recurrent prescription, chronic medication. And then it sounds like your solution is even in something I'm scripting it out today and I'm sending the patient home, and the medication would come in the same day to the pet owner in the same area. So if that's the case, do you see the clinics are doing even less inventory management, which is a burden and a big impact on the bottom line? Because if you're not managing your COGS and inventory well, then that decreases your EBITDA.
Mhm.
So is that where your play is, and is that where your value proposition at?
So when it comes to inventory management, our clients come to us for overflow a lot of the time. So if there's something expensive like Galliprant that they don't want to stock, or Simparica Trio is quite expensive as well, they'll send those products to us because most clinics will have a staple flea and tick med that they prescribe very regularly. But you'll have clients who want different things. When they want different things, you have two options. You can keep it in your clinic at and then you have to sell that entire sleeve of product in order to make money, or you can send it to us and you make money from the one box that you send us. And so a lot of our practitioners are seeing the benefit of that, and it makes their customers really happy because if they do it by a certain time in the day, it's 1 or 2 o'clock, it'll arrive with the client by 5 or 6 p.m. that same evening. So I find your point interesting about, convenience for clients. What I thought when I first started this up was that money would be the major motivator for everybody. And actually, a lot of our practitioners and this, work with us because we do make their clients so happy and we do get things so quickly. And money was actually less of a factor than I was originally imagining.
Yeah, that's super duper interesting. So, I mean, the business model seems, very, very unique and high touch. And I think that there's definitely a certain amount or percentage of the pet parent population out there that will definitely want a service like this. But Georgia, what's the big, bold vision? If we like put our crystal ball down on the desk and we look out 5 years, like, do you see this across the US, across the world? Like, where you guys want to take this and how you're going to get it there?
I'd love to say it across the world, definitely across the US. And I think, as I mentioned before, major metropolitan areas are kind of going to be our staple in every state. That's what we would like to see. And a small network of connected delivery drivers going out to different boroughs to deliver meds every day at certain times. I would love to see scheduled delivery as well. So if someone says, I'm not going to be in this afternoon, but I will be in tomorrow morning, can I get my meds then? That kind of thing is doable, but at scale. Unfortunately, right now, we have set times that we deliver just to make things manageable. But yeah, all of these things are like in the pipeline. And then, I think adding additional services for veterinarians, perhaps like a nationwide buying group or something so that the meds they do stock in-house are cheaper for them. We're looking into a lot of options to make life easier for our practitioners.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I mean, it seems like, there's lots of potential co-conspirators or collaborators out there. Like I think of like TVC, the Veterinary Cooperative, and other kind of services for independents that are buying groups that could stack your service on top of them. I've got a friend, he might happen to be on this show with us today, that's got this idea of kind of creating laboratories, like, and kind of, he calls them galaxies. That include like independent practices and then a lab in the middle and a specialty referral, and there could be even a potential collaboration between the two of you guys. So it's really interesting what you're doing, and I like the high touch nature of it. What have some of the struggles been so far since you guys lifted this off the ground?
I think the high touch nature of it is a bit of a struggle because we know most of our customers by name, even though we work with roughly 100 clinics, and making sure that when you bring someone else into the team, they understand who everybody is, and making sure that these relationships are kind of cherished and promoted. I know that sounds a little cliche, but we want to maintain that experience at scale. And unfortunately, that kind of like high touch thing is what gets lost. And we're hoping that by having these small satellite pharmacies around, that individual team who runs it is responsible for forming these relationships with our clinics and our clients and keeping those as established relationships and building on those. That has been one of the biggest challenges. It's also been what makes us special. So, finding a way to scale that is interesting. Yeah, and just the locations themselves have high overhead. And so, we need to pay off the location obviously before we can reach profitability. But, that won't be that much of a problem, getting the capital to do that when we can kind of prove out our PMF in our particular area, because that's going to take roughly 6 to 8 months per location to set up.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. And then back to the technology and kind of the innovation. It's really interesting, the wife veterinarian and the husband software developer coming together to kind of like do something. What's that been like to build that technology and to go from a relationship where you cohabit and have a relationship to all of a sudden be business partners as well?
It definitely changes things because you have to be mindful of what you talk about. I mean, I was quite smart in some ways. I like to think, having a software developer for a husband, it wasn't planned, I promise. But I would say that, I'm very fortunate. My husband really, truly is my best friend. Again, the cliches here are insufferable, but I will say that he makes it so easy. He is that kind of guy that gets on with everybody, but he's very calm. He'll put his foot down when he needs to, but generally speaking, he's open to everybody's ideas. He's incredibly patient, very hardworking, and so he has made it very easy. And we just have certain things, being business partners. We made a decision that, like, as CEO, I would get the final word technically. That's not without a lot of discussion. And we're both comfortable with that. Definitely when we come home, we say, right, date night's Wednesday, and we don't talk about work after a certain time, and we just hang out and have fun. So that has made things a lot more bearable because, you guys know the grind, right? You go through these peaks and troughs of, when building a business that can be really challenging, and that can have an effect on your relationship if you allow it to.
It's fascinating. So for those that hear you and they are in the Sacramento area, and when you're expanding or they want to follow your journey, where do people find you? What's your website, and where do they find you to have a chat?
For sure. So you can go to Pharmacy.com. That's Furmacy.com. Our number is listed on the website. You can call us, you can text us, you can email us. One of our team will get back to you, or I'll get back to you. We're very easy to get hold of. And hopefully, if you pick up the phone and you have a chat with us, you'll see why people love to use us, because we would love to work with you.
Excellent. Well, there's two questions that we ask at the end of every show. And the first question is there a book, TED Talk, YouTube video, or anything exciting and inspiring that you've seen recently that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so one of my favorite TED Talks is The Cost of Euthanasia by Sarah Hoggan. It just, every time I watch it sometimes when I'm just feeling a little sad, and it just makes me so happy to be able to do what we do. It reminds me what a special profession we're in and how much we need to look out for each other. Yeah, that's probably one of my faves.
That's awesome. And the last question is another innovator in the vet space that you think we should have on the show.
Oh, good question. I think you guys should reach out to Rakesh Tondon. He runs Dr. Treat down in the Bay Area, kind of a similar thing that you were talking about with your friend who has their galaxies. He's doing something similar, and I love his vision.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.